Hey everybody, this is John for MTG Nexus doing a quick deck tech on the latest version of Burn that I'll be running for this league. An updated version is available on my sideboard guide on Patreon for $1 a month. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider checking out our Patreon page for as little as $1 a month. You can get access to a sideboard guide that I update twice a month. And as far as the changes, the only major change I made was cutting one copy of Rest in Peace for a third copy of Smash to Smithereens. I don't know that you want to bring in the third copy against the various stoneforge mystic decks, but I do think the rise in things like Tron, as well as Eldrazi Tron, things like Urza and such, leads to the third copy of Smash to Smithereens being quite reasonable. We've been running into a lot of artifact decks lately, whether it be Stoneforge Mystic decks, whether it be Urza, so many other different things. Having a third copy of an artifact-based destruction spell seems pretty reasonable. Some people have suggested something like Shattering Spree. I think that could certainly warrant testing in a future video, but this is the kind of list we're sticking to. Right now, another kind of conclusion that people are wondering is Grim Lavamancer. As I've stated in a couple other videos, Grim Lavamancer is not in the best position in the format. The main reason Grim Lavamancer was included back in the list as a way to fight turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic and into Force of Negation. This is a card you can preemptively play on one. If you've cracked a fetch land, maybe a bolt or something, you'll have enough mana to kill the Stoneforge Mystic on 2 without having to rely on something like getting around Force of Negation. Obviously, it does get more complicated if they have Path to Exile for the Grim Lavamancer, etc. But this is a card you can play preemptively to answer a Stoneforge Mystic, which is a problematic card in the current format. Beyond that, once again, we've trimmed a Skewer the Critics and a Searing Blaze for 2 copies of Skullcrack in the main. Searing Blaze is kind of a sacred cow that a lot of people have played 4 ofs for all times. I don't feel like it's currently the best positioned card in the deck. It's still a very powerful effect, one of the strongest ones in our deck, but a lot of times it's a 10 or a 2 in this format. So I've trimmed to feel free to trim to 3. 3 copies of Skewer the Critics. This is a card. People were trying it out first. They're like, well, was this card even fit in Burn? And then people were like, it's not a Mag 4 of. I think in the current format, it's either a 3 or 4 of, and another card that can potentially see a trim or 2 is Riftbolt, especially in the face of 3 Fairy. This is a very diverse format, so there is probably no current 100% correct configuration for Burn. Still holding on to 2 copies of Core Firewalker because I fear there's going to be a lot of Mono Red Prowess or Burn floating around, although that's kind of dissipating as people are giving it the respect it deserves on things like Magic Online, both with the last Burn League and the various Mono Red Prowess decks we've been playing. We've been seeing a rise in things like Weather the Storm and such, which obviously make it a lot more difficult for red decks to succeed. Hence why Burn's probably slipping down a little bit in the format right now, even as we speak. I still think overall it's a solid choice. Got game in a lot of matchups, and so that said, let's hop into matches and see how we can do. One other thing that should be pretty interesting to note is Throne of Eldraine, I do believe, is legal on Magic Online. So it should be interesting to see if we see a surge in things like Amulet Titan and Tron, as people try the card once upon a time. This hand is most excellent, especially on the play. 3 lands, probably 1 more than we ideally want in our opener, but Goblin Guide into a bunch of spells. Generally pretty solid in a lot of matchups, so it's usually one of Burn's best starts. Involves a 1-drop into either 1-drops or various copies of spells. We have a lot of ability to get cards out of our hand quickly. Next turn we could even double spell potentially, so paying attention to... oh boy. Really tired of seeing these Gemstone Mine decks. Let's see what they pitch. Okay. So... not quite sure what deck plays Wormcoil Engine. I guess an Eldrazi Tron variant. So, Sundering Titan. Okay, so Blue Tron maybe? Because our opponent does not have Chalice on 1, which is nice. I could, I suppose, have a copy of Repeal or Condescend here. Feels like Condescend. Yep. Which is annoying, but at the same time is kind of whatever. I'm not going to not play my spells into the face of whatever my opponent's doing. Plus they have the ability to scry to put cards on top, which is annoying, obviously. Let's see if they have something like a sure. This allows us to play around Condescend on one, also hold up Skullcrack for when they finally get that Wormcoil engine into play. See if our opponent pops that Expedition map in response. Repeal, sure. Annoying as it is, they get a Remand. Redeploy that. Be interesting if they missed a land drop here. Urza's Tower. Oh no, blue Tronsies. Opponent's in kind of a rough spot here. I mean, obviously they have Remand, which is annoying. So we know to play around Remand as best of our ability. I mean, obviously, if I were them, I'd probably crack this, go get a land, hold up Remand. They're still not in great shape, but at least Remand kind of protects them from a 2-mana spell killing them. But not an easy position for our blue Tron opponent to be in. Teleria West. Where are you going to go get here? Okay. So then they can hold up and you're dead. Alright. Simple, to the point. Misdid the math there anyway. We definitely want the smashes, definitely want the skull cracks, definitely want the exquisite fire crafts. We could consider Path to Exile potentially. Cards we're likely not interested in include these 3 Searing Blazes. Lavamancer could be a cut. Other cards that can conceivably be cut here. Some of the 2-mana spells, so maybe Helix could be in consideration. Boros Charm and Skewer could certainly be in consideration. Guessing we're just going to cut Lightning Helix here. It is an instant speed spell. However, our curve starts to get a little bit unbalanced, and as much as I want to cut 1-drops because of the presence of Chalice, maybe it's supposed to be like 2 Helixes and a Riftbolt and a Lavamancer. I feel like Lavamancer, especially on the draw, is going to be a huge liability. 3 smashes might be too many. Does give us outs to Chalices, things like Mindslaver if they can't crack at that turn, that kind of stuff. Skullcrack, they don't tend to have a lot of life gain, but they do have things like Worm Coil Engine. Depends on if they're with the Wisp. They're on the Karn the Great Creator Wisp package. You know, a lot of different things they could have. The primary weapons in this matchup are things like Chalice, their counter spells, and the like. The sand's just terrible, so we have to mulligan. What you got there, friend? Okay, we have to go 6, unfortunately. This hand's okay, but not great. Put back one of the lands, obviously. I'll probably put back the mountain. And really would love to top deck like a 1-drop. Just hit them while they're tapped out. This hand could potentially beat them, but you know, if they have something like a Chalice here, or which feels like it kind of feels like what they got going on here. Nope. Get the Talisman instead. Go ahead and crack this. That Field of Ruin indicates that I want to actively fetch my. I guess they could potentially have Spell Snare here. Not sure if that's something I should have played around. Probably not. Feels like we're seeing all their kind of one-of lands. Some of these lists are running Force of Negation, so that is something to note. Treasure Mage? Sure. Someone that goes gets 6 or higher, correct? The one thing to note, though, is no copies of. Oh, that's unfortunate. Now they get to Tron us, which is really obnoxious. But I guess they would have gotten that anyway, so. Go ahead and spike them here. Yeah, just let them do the thing here. Because they could have Force of Negation even. Obviously, it feels like you're just supposed to play Worm Coil Engine here, right? 7, 8, 9 mana. That's even more obnoxious. This would put them to 8. Yeah, looks like they're going to go ahead and take the opportunity here. Land was a nice draw. Go ahead and skull crack you during the upkeep. Just in case for some reason we don't get priority back, I clicked on the draw step here. This will give us potentially a 1, 2 cards on bottom. So there's a few things here that we could be fearful of. We could be fearful of, yeah. Feels like they're doing this to get a blue source. If they can have a counterspell, it's possible we have no outs right now. Firecraft would do it. Beyond that, I don't know if there's any specific cards in our deck that would do it through a Force of Negation or Condescend. Opponent's best bet might just be to hold back this turn. They're actually going to tap their mana low. Wow. Interesting. Spreading Seas isn't particularly relevant. One draw step to try to win. If they have Force of Negation, they're good. If they don't, they're dead. Alright, so we got there in match number 1 against Mono Blue Tron. Yeah, we're back from match number 2. We are on the draw this time, which kind of sucks, but our hand still seems pretty awesome overall. Opponent is mulliganing to 6. So considerations for this opener is, do we lead on the fetch or the whatchamacallit? In the end, I don't think Searing Blaze is going to be particularly relevant to this game plan. Opponent could be on E-Tron, they could be on Green Tron, they could be on Green Eldrazi. I think at this point we just want to try to get our opponent dead. So this will give us some clue as to what our opponent's on. Just shows us they have another power plant. So, okay, they're on a Green Tron variant. I think they are making a mistake as to when they're cracking their whatchamacallit here, but at the same time, triggers. Thragtusk. Main deck, Thragtusk. Great. Fortunately, it is likely our opponent's going to survive long enough to cast that Thragtusk, so yep. think we have the firepower to kill them this turn, obviously, so Thragdad's gonna come down and be annoying. Ghost Quarter, Karn the Great Creator. That puts them to 4, that puts them to 1. Sure, Thragdad puts them to 12. So 6 damage, 8 damage. Spike, huh? So we can put them to 4. Another Karn the Great Creator, doesn't seem particularly relevant. Puts them to 4. Yep. Just gonna try to go get Lattice here. Witchbane Orb. That one is mildly annoying. Yep, the fact that Tron's ready for burn's quite obnoxious. Yep. Alright, on to game number 2 against a way too well-prepared Tron opponent. Definitely want these, definitely want the Skull Cracks, definitely want the Smashes. Down 3 copies of Blaze, go down the Lavamancer, and feels like 3 copies of Helix, maybe. This is a mulligan, unfortunately. Too many 2-drops, no 1-drop creature. This hand's pretty good. Put back, obviously, probably the basic mountain. Yeah, these Tron, a lot of decks are just way too kind of ready for burn at this point. Like this modern classic in Syracuse, 3 Thragtusk main, 3 Wormcoil main, 4 Karn main, 3 copies of Leyline of Sanctity. You know, lots of stuff that's really kind of hard to beat straight up. So they have Leyline. We're pretty boned here, but it looks like they are not either not running that tech or their hand was just good enough. Either way, not the greatest against a Tron player that's keeping 7, but expedition map. Hate to double fetch the things like this, but at the same time, I really don't want to get eaten up by like some type of random ghost quarter nonsense, taking us off of our only white source on a key turn. Nature's Claim, mildly annoying. Like I said, they just have way too many copies of life gain spells in post-board games, especially with their main decking Thragtusks. Alright, another forest. No, our opponent has a Nature's Claim, so if they have an artifact, rock, I guess they could potentially claim their expedition map. Possibly. Feels like you should go ahead and do that now, friend. Once again, canyon coming through here. Yep, opponent scoops. But we got lucky, we were on the play there. We're going to have to try to win one on the draw against a deck that is, shall we say, way over-prepared for the burn matchup right now. I think on the draw, this is a kind of hand that has all the tools I want to beat Tron, other than the second land, and I think I am inclined to keep it. Skull, Crack, and Smash, both key cards. Just really want to find a second land. Yep. Interesting. fact that we're not going to find another land drop really is going to hurt us here. Probably should have deployed our copy of Swift Spear there. Now we're kind of vulnerable to life gain for no good reason. Sure. Another Eugene, that's fine. Hold up the ability to skull crack and smash here on end of step. Yep, that's fine. Put them to 8. If we ever draw a land in this sequence, I think we're in good shape, but as is. Yeah, sure. What you got over there, friendo? Gotta watch out for the Ugin ultimate next turn, so can't take down the Skullcrack wall. But we do have lethal just with these 3 cards. If we rip a land next turn, they're dead. Like, Wormcoil into Nature's Claim would be like a worst case scenario, I think, for us. Yep. They going for the same combo as last time. Yep. Okay. Cutesy. Come on, land, please. Okay. Great, we're gonna die last, aren't we? Yes, we are. Oh well. That's unfortunate, but Tron decks look like they're way over prepared for Burn right now. So, any deck wants to beat Burn, they certainly can. Anyways, we'll be back soon with match number 3. Hey, we're back here for match number 3 against Misplaced Avenger. Name seems familiar. 4 lands, mulligan. 2 lands, reasonable. Card. So, cards that are definite keeps are probably these ones. So, Searing Blaze without a fetch land is a bit sketch. Eidolon, we're on the play, so I think I'm going to bottom either the Helix or the Blaze here. I think it's just the Blaze. Because if they don't lead exactly 1-drop creature into something, our Blaze could potentially be... Okay, so it looks like they are on... It's unfortunate because they're on... It ends up looking like it's going to be fine because... They're on 5-color Niv, which is admittedly a tricky matchup if they have the Helix draws. So, go ahead and lead here. They could have Helix here, so maybe it was correct to leave up Skullcrack. Looks like they just have nothing. Interesting. Puts them to 7. Growth Spiral. Guess that makes sense. You'd put that into play here. Kaya's guy would be annoying, but I don't think they have the mana to cast it right now. What are they going to 3 for? Okay, they're just conceding, sure. My question is, though, does Niv Mizzet Reborn run multiple copies of I'm not actually 100% sure what our opponent was on. I was under the assumption they're on Niv Mizzet Reborn. That could be incorrect, especially with a double Stomping Ground. I'm just going to bring in the 2 Skullcracks and... What other deck is going to run Teamer Colors with Arkham's Astrolabe? maybe Snow Healy. So maybe bring in 2 paths, go down a Grim Lavamancer. Not quite sure what our opponent's on over there, obviously. But saw Teamer colors, 2 Arkham's Astrolabes. It could still be. It could still certainly be 5-color Niv. Still not know a darn thing that's going on over there. At least previous information didn't already tell us. Okay, so they are Teamer Scapeshift. That makes a bit more sense to what we saw game 1. Probably should have actually led on Sacred Foundry, since we're going to be taking the damage regardless. So Scapeshift. Bring to late Scapeshift. It's got Search for Tomorrow that they could easily cast here. Still, I think the obviously the 1 copy of interesting. So 4, 5, 6, potentially 6 mana next turn. So put them to 10, and then to 5. Bring to Light could be problematic. Especially, I'm guessing, well, they may have to crack here, so I guess the Bring to Light won't be coming to town after all. The 5 here. If they have Ojutai's command, I think they're just supposed to use it main phase. Five mana for that cost. No idea. Bring the Light for 3. Timely reinforcements. Anger of the Gods. Sure. Ish. Alright. Okay. Okay. Am I dead? So we know one of their cards in hand is Search for Tomorrow. So I think we're just supposed to try to go for the kill here. I guess that's not the kill, so I'm a moron. Good job. Escape shift. Sure. Show me enough mountains. Alright, on the concession here. So, don't want the Path to Exiles. Might want Firecrafts to get through counter spells. Really not a huge fan of Path. Blaze could be okay depending on their draws, but not great. So I think we just kind of roll with this and see what we can do. Let's try to kill them before they kill us. Very risky hand. Do you think this warrants consideration of keeping? And I think I am going to keep it on the basis of these two into each other could be very problematic for their draw. But obviously we could easily flood out and die if they have some reasonable draws themselves. And they have bleeping ley lines, sure. Bailoff? Yeah, sure. So the game pretty much ends next turn. Yep. Wow. Alright, so we know our opponent's last card in hand is a Force of Negation. Yep. Wow. I got nothing. Be back with match number 4. Back for match number 4 after a very wonky ending to our Bring Delight Scathe Ship matchup. His hand's leaning towards a keep. Obviously, his hand's quite risky with only 1 lander, but we've already mulled to 6. So I think his hand warrants keeping and probably get rid of the Searing Blaze here. Obviously, if we hit the second land drop, both Blaze and Eidolon offer us a great bit of utility. Eidolon, potentially the better card, depending on the matchup, and I really don't want to see Kitchen Finks. Ay, 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 ay. Alright, so... not quite sure what's going on here. Pass turn. Let's got Kitchen Finks in the wings, which isn't good for us. Shriekmaw. Alright, so some type of budget green-black stompy deck. Could blaze this, could play Eidolon. Obviously in trouble against Finks. Taking a lot of damage. Not ideal in this situation. So, okay. I am confused as to what's going on here. If there are any deck results lately with Yawgmoth. Black-green Yawgmoth Chord. Alright, not familiar with this one, but I see. Alright. Not sure what to make of this pile, but could certainly beat us this game. Can we potentially even win this game? That would deal us 4 damage. Doesn't feel we're likely to win this game. Attack with that, playing the trade-off here. Chord for 1. Yep. So they definitely are Yawgmoth Chord. Additional cards they can bring in: Collective Brutality, Dampening Sphere. So Searing Bloods are pretty good in this matchup. Skullcracks are pretty decent in this matchup. Path to Exile seems pretty decent against the Undying deck. Lavamancer seems fine. Cards are not good in this style of matchup. Yawgmoth Thran Physician. Proliferate with Undying seems like a... Oh, okay, interesting. So they get to -1/-1. Yeah, interesting. So probably out the Boros Charms and maybe a Rift Bolt and a Spike. This is definitely a different style of list. And it's not great, but I think we keep it. Feels like they either have a Yawgmoth or a Birds of Paradise. Yeah, Yawgmoth I don't particularly care about. Turn off auto yields. Do this to you. Play out Eidolon. Please don't have Collective Brutality. Cool. Ramping our opponent, which doesn't feel great, but I think we have to keep pushing damage, and the fact that we have Skullcrack kind of incentivizes us to do so. Is this a Sphinx? Reclamation Sage. Feels like a bit of a stretch on that one. Feels like they could have had a life gain spell there, so I'm just going to play this Eidolon. Could be a tad awkward. I was going to say, of course here comes the Baloth. opponent could potentially be at 6 right now, or 8. They'd be at 5 right now. Would be in much better shape. Though admittedly, they would have. Yep, just way too much of the random kind of nonsense stuff. So, 2 and 2, really, really weird league right now. Anyways, on to match number 5. We're on to match number 5, and I really hope our opponent's screen name is not what they are on, because if it is, this is going to be a really rough 2-3 league. Martyr, obviously Martyr proc would be kind of rough, so definitely a good hand. 1-drop into either Blaze or 1-drop plus copy of Riftbolt seems fantastic. And our opponent's on a Snapcaster Mage deck, so maybe? Wow, okay. Thoughtseize, so Death Shadow perhaps? Feels like the take is one of these two. One thing we did not want to draw there was a land. Drop our opponent to 6 here. Presume they're going to try a Snapcaster us, right? Lightning Bolt, okay. Fatal Push, sure. Hopefully they don't have a Death Shadow to deploy. That'd be extremely unfortunate. Okay. Sure. Deck. Come on. Yep. If they have a stub. We're more than likely dead if they have a stub here, so, I mean, gotta go for it. You have the stub? You do not. Cool. Alrighty, so, Grixis to Shadow. Shadow me captain. To Pat Exile. Also like Exquisite Firecraft. Go down the Searing Blazes. And go down a copy of Grim Lavamancer. Other cards that could be considered, Skullcrack could certainly be considered, although obviously kind of works in kind of anti-synergy with what their deck's trying to do. They do have Collective Brutalities most likely in the sideboard. other cards, it's really about it. So we could consider bringing those in. Death's Shadow. See if our opponent has a recent finish. Looks like they don't. Sideboard cards. Looks like there's a good number of collective brutalities, so maybe there's a consideration to bring them in over something like Lightning Helix, maybe. Can't always hold it up at the appropriate times against something like, this hand's pretty decent. Definitely keeping. Opponent. Okay. So opponent leads on nothing here, which could very easily mean either they have a fatal push or they have a collective brutality, so it's possible I'm not supposed to run this Swispy route here, but feels like collective brutality then. Or they could just have a poor hand and mulligan the 6 and have to keep a mediocre hand, so I guess we'll find out in a minute. Ooh, okay. So kept the mediocre 1-lander. Alright, so Lightning Bolt. Kind of give away information in our hand here, obviously. Duress. Go ahead and bolt you. Bolt you to 13. Take whatever card you want. It's probably going to be a Boros Charm. Now, if you have fetch land, you could potentially play a Death Shadow. Meh. Wow. Alright. The question becomes, do I aim this... I'll just go ahead and aim this Rift Bolt at that. Kind of a way of giving away some information here, but I'm not sure I terribly care. Just like a Fulminator Mage. Maybe a Kolaghan's Command. So, if they drew a stub, we could be in some trouble. Sure. It's like probably the perfect card. And we got there with the 3-2. Man, what a weird league. Alright, we'll be back in 1 second with the wrap-up. So back here with the wrap-up for today's league. I think one thing we saw a huge shift in from some of our last leagues is there is a huge paradigm shift in terms of decks being prepared for burn. We saw Leyline of Sanctities, which previously is not a card we've seen a lot of. We saw main deck Thrag Tusks. We saw Witchbane Orb out of Tron. We saw a deck with things like Kitchen Finks in the main deck, Scavenging Oozes, Obstinate Balos in the sideboard. There were certainly some play lines I could have taken differently in some of the matches, especially game number 3 against the green Tron deck. There were some play lines I could have taken differently. And game number 2, instead of against that black-green Yawgmoth Chord deck that I'd never even seen, I definitely could have held up Skullcrack, put them to 5, and maybe given us a chance to top deck to kill them. There's definitely some playline choices there that were kind of questionable. One card that might come up some of these other situations is Flames of the Blood Hand is probably going to be a card I'm going to consider moving forward. Looks like there's less burn matchups and more people gunning for burn, so eventually the ebb and flow will lead back the other way. But, solid 3-2. Got a little bit lucky in that matchup against blue-white or Teamer 4-color Snowscape Shift. They double ley-lined us, had a Baloth on 3, and we still managed to kill them because we had a decent creature draw. It's kind of a rough matchup when people are packing this much heat for burn, but obviously we still have 3-2, so burn can be solid even through hate. Deck is solid. Just gotta learn to play through hate sometimes, which might also consider bringing back in some number of wear tears or bringing the 3rd color splash. Be something, a lot of things to look at in the coming leagues. But anyways, as always, I want to thank everybody for their support, both on Patreon and here on the channel. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to leave us a thumbs up and leave a constructive comment down below, as we aim to become the most informative lightning bolt based channel for Modern on YouTube.